Hello and welcome to the Wolves Report. I'm Ryan Lester and thank you for joining us for episode 40, where tonight we'll talk about the Man City game, talk about Bruno, taking lots of your questions and looking ahead to West Ham in a week and a half's time. Delighted, as always, to be joined by our own Slater and Claridge. It's Nocky and Tyler. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We may have Steve Herman on later on. He's been called to other duties. Hopefully we'll get him later in the podcast. If not, I'll have to split his fee between the two loyal servants to my right and the top. So, as always, the show is being recorded live. We try and get as many of your interactions, questions, comments, insults, pretty much anything you like on the screen, as long as it's reasonable enough to put on after 8 o'clock at night. So the live interactions are a huge part of the show. Also, this week, I asked for some questions on Twitter. We've had some fantastic questions, and as requested by Tyler, and rightly so, we're going to get through as many as those this week because it covers some real big issues. So, first of all, let's take our minds back to Saturday morning. A little bit of hope. Had a reality check after 50 seconds. Knocker, your take on the Man City game?
I'll start with the positives. I thought Traore looked good when he came on. I thought he had a good game.
He did.
I thought Nunes played pretty well. I thought he looks a good player. He looked like getting better all the time. But we had 2 weeks to prepare for that game. 2 weeks to decide how we were going to stop them from playing. 2 weeks to put something in place to try and control a team that is arguably the best team in the world. I wasn't expecting anything out of it. But to concede a goal inside 50 seconds is unprofessional. It's disappointing, and it was unnecessary as well. I think the only time we touched the ball between them kicking off and scoring is when Nunes gave the ball away. So it was a really poor goal. We were out of shape. We were out of position. It looked to me for the first sort of 20, 25 minutes of the game that we were starstruck. They looked like they were backing off. I think the first goal was really poor. Grealish, who's not known for his pace, gets between our two centre halves, ends up on Johnny's shoulder, goal side, and scores. The second goal, again, we turn over possession in midfield. They run straight through a simple ball to Haaland. Haaland runs a Kilman. Kilman backs away. Should be showing him outside there. He just keeps backing off, give Haaland a chance to shoot. I think, if I'm maybe being hypercritical, Sarr should save that. It's on his near post. I don't think it's a particularly good strike when it flies in. And then Collins, who I'm a big fan of his. I think he's a fantastic player, but I love a reducer, as you know. But you know, I'm not a big fan of GBH, and I don't know what he was trying to do there. To be fair, and it just fell apart. And I know people said we improved second half. We did, but for me, I think they had a game midweek, and if they wanted 6 in that game, I think they would have scored 6. I think they were content with 3. They were comfortable with the result. They knew they'd got us beat. They were playing around us, playing through us. We had a little bit of possession, but we were never in any danger of scoring a goal, and I think City were just comfortable. I was really disappointed. I felt that we allowed them to come and dictate. We didn't put any kind of pressure on them. A couple of times we beat their press and played a couple of decent through balls in, but again, there's no one in the penalty area. We don't commit going forward. The inverted wingers doesn't work for me. I think it slows down the attack. The 4-3-3 doesn't work for me either. So I was really disappointed. And yes, I know we're up against a good side, and realistically, we didn't expect to get anything out of the game. But I was really disappointed with how we set up and how we approached the game and the performance we put in, if I'm being honest.
Right, Tyler, if you let Knocker take a breath now, because he must have rehearsed that. He has not stopped for like 4 minutes on that one. Tyler, giving Knocker a rest, and I've got to be honest, it's hard to disagree with anything that he said there, but I'd love your take on the game as well.
Yeah, very similar, really. I echo what Knocker says, but it wasn't anything I wasn't expecting. You know, I'd probably like to get longer than a minute, but it was all I thought it would be. We were tepid. We were, like Knocker said, in awe of them. This is a team we've beat a few times since we've come up, and we've given games to them. Again, we just let them play. We learned nothing from the 5-1 debacle last season, where we gave them far too much time and space. I mean, Knocker started off with a couple of positives. I was struggling for one, really. Just got beaten by a far superior side, and I think what's concerning is just the way we wilted. I mean, I watched Man City against Villa and Newcastle, teams that are on a par with us, realistically, form and player wise, and they gave them a game. They got stuck into them. They attacked them. They got in behind them. They used pace, especially Newcastle with setbacks. Man, we didn't do any of that. I mean, I think you said it, Knocker. That's probably the easiest game Man City you're going to have all season, or certainly the easiest second half of football, because it was like a training game, wasn't it, in the end? And I agree with the goals. They were poor. I mean, Kilman, we've been saying how brilliant he's been, but that was poor defending, just letting him come on. It was almost like he was a bit scared of him, and then he had the shot and scored. Third goal, you sort of gone by then, aren't you? The shapes all over the place, and you could see that coming. But we put a bit of pride in second half. We kept the ball nicely, we passed and moved it. But the biggest concern for me, and what I've said all season, is we just don't look a goal threat at all. We never look like scoring, and I think until that changes, we're banging the mud, to be honest.
Yeah, some great points, boys. I mean, we've done 6 minutes, and it's flying by because we're all agreeing what we're saying. The thing that really sort of irked me the most about, I mean, the Collins tackle was annoying, but as you said then, boys, we've had 2 weeks to work on the shape for that game. 2 weeks. For me, the first 5 minutes against Man City, you 4 at the back, you 5 sit in front of them, your wingers sit on top of your fullback, no spacing behind, track your men, don't allow an inch. How have you allowed, again, for the second consecutive game against Man City, the best centre midfielder in the world to overlap and put a ball in? Where was Guedes? Why is he so out of position? How can you be pulled out of shape? We only had the ball 10 seconds. How can you be so much out of shape? I don't know. Like, am I blaming Guedes? People have given Ain't Nori stick. Your shape at the start of the game against Man City is 4-5-1. You tuck in, you hold, you frustrate, and then you start to get opportunities to counter. Now, that's not like a deep tactical analysis. That's the basics of what teams do against them. Like, we know what's coming. We know De Bruyne's a monster. We know Haaland's a monster. We just let them play down that side. I just don't know how they can be so out of shape so early on. For me, it's unforgivable. Who am I blaming for that? Well, the manager puts the shape out. I don't know. I don't think he's hung anyone out to dry, but I just don't understand how you could be overloaded after 50 seconds on the left-hand side of the pitch when the best right-footed crosser of the ball in the world is free and overlapping. I don't get it.
The schoolboy error, isn't it? Whatever level of football you're playing, whatever level, you keep it tight, don't you, first 5-10 minutes? I'm with you, Ryan. It's bizarre, isn't it? And I couldn't figure it out. But like you said, it's all gone out the window then after a minute. It's game over. We don't come from behind against pub teams, let alone the best team in what I'd say probably Europe, if not the world. So it was game over after a minute or two. And whether or not that impacted how we may have played, who knows? But then to be 2 down after 15 minutes, we might as well have just called it a day there, blown up for full time and all gone home, really.
Yeah,
I felt the same. I mean, I was sat there with my lad and they scored in 50 seconds and you might as well have just gone home because we haven't got that kind of comeback in us. And when we won at Man City a couple of years ago, we were solid, we were rigid, we were disciplined, we didn't break shape. And then in the last 15 minutes, we stuck Adama through the middle and we gave them a problem and we managed to score 2 goals and win the game. And I know that doesn't happen very often against the Man City, but your organisation is the key. And we just looked so disorganised and we get the ball away so quickly the first time we had it and we weren't able to recover. And as soon as you saw the team sheet, you kind of got an inkling that was coming. We needed some pace through the middle. We didn't really have that. Neto's been out of form since the first minute he kicked the ball this season, and he's struggling on that right wing. I want to see him come back across to the left. I want to see us in a 4-2-3-1 because I think that gives us opportunities. Hopefully we can do that with Costa back, although my suspicion is we won't. But I just think you've got to be organised against a team like that. You've got to be disciplined and to lose your shape. And as you say, allow Kevin De Bruyne, who ripped us to pieces just a few months ago, to overlap and hurt you like that and put a ball across the face of goal. And Grealish as well, no one tracks his run. It's not an impressive run. He's not jinking. He's just running in a straight line and he gets himself between the centre-backs. It was just wrong from the start. And I can't think of one decent opportunity that we actually fashioned in the whole game, which again is a concern. It's another match where we've only managed one shot on goal. It's another match where the game has gone the second the opposition have scored, and you've got no confidence that the team are ever going to come back, which is a real concern.
Yeah, I mean, these facts and these statements are hitting hard because it's not really an opinion. It's what you're saying is true because we don't look like we've got a way back in us. Looking back before that game, though, I don't think Wolves have fluked up until the weekend having the best defence in the Premier League up until that point now, because we haven't really been bothered by anybody. We haven't really been hurt. But it doesn't help when you're playing against the best attacking team probably in the world just to sort of open up and let them have that space. So whether Wolves were starstruck, I think you said that, Nocky. I don't know, but that defending early on is unforgivable. Yes, the second half they showed heart. I've got mixed feelings about this, though, because, I mean, people were like, oh, you should give them praise. You're moaning too much about the second half. 2-0, 10 men. They were in total control. There was heart. You know what? In fairness, we didn't really let Man City settle. We kept pressing. We kept chasing the ball. And credit to them, they never give up and they never stopped. I respect that. That's the minimum I expect, though. But I respect it because they could have been on for a slapping. They didn't. I thought, as one of you guys said as well, I thought Man City, if they wanted more goals, they could have took them. But still, I'm going to credit the second half application. They didn't give up. They didn't stop. They tried. And you know what? At least they went with their boots on, didn't they? They died with their boots on. They did the best.
You can credit the application, yeah, I completely agree. But we're not a third division team in an FA Cup game against a Premier League side. We're an established Premier League side who are regulars in this division now. And the minimum you expect is to go down swinging. I completely get your point. Man City are miles and miles ahead of us, and they're only going to get further. There's no question about that. But I don't just want to see application. I don't want to see a solid midfield. I want to see us creating chances, creating opportunities. You look at the other teams who you would expect at this moment in time are going to be in and around us, like your Bournemouths, your Fulhams when the season settles down. Teams like that, they're all outscoring us. There's only Gillingham in the Football League with less goals scored than Wolves at the minute, and that's not an accident. It's not a fluke that we're defending well, but it's not a fluke that we're not scoring goals either. So there's positives there for us, but the reality is if you don't put the ball in the back of the net, you're only going to end up in a bad situation, and we just don't have a goal in us.
And this is a real concern. I'm going to move on to Bruno, but I want to keep talking about the game for a little bit. I hate saying it, but we almost felt like we talked about it as fans, as having a game as a free hit. But then you sort of see the players in the tunnel, and they can say what they want. It's up to them, isn't it? But it almost looked like that for them as well. Like, as you said, that against Man City in the past, we caused them problems, but you don't help yourselves conceding after 50 seconds. And then the game plan, it's like Mike Tyson says, isn't it? You know what I mean? Everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the nose. We got one square between the eyes straight away, and we just had no response. It's true, though, and football's unpredictable. I'm sure Wolves will win games this season, I hope, and we'll have our day. But you've got to start better. You've got to be more positive. But you've got to be mainly more disciplined. I keep repeating myself. But to be out of shape so early on in the game, for me, is completely unforgivable. I don't know if you blame the manager. I don't know if you blame the players. But whoever it is, there's a joint responsibility there. Hold your shape. Build something. Frustrate them for 5 minutes. You will get a chance to counter. Cancelo will be over the halfway line. John Stones will come over the halfway line. There'll be spacing behind the fullbacks. And we hardly put a glove on them once in those areas. So disappointing. Positives, as we said, Boubacar Traoré knocker. I don't know if it's easy or hard to come on when you're 3-0 down, but I don't think he put a foot wrong. He looked like all of a sudden he was everywhere. He looks like
he needs to start, doesn't he?
Yeah,
I know he's done 20 minutes and he needs to start. I mean, I'm Moutinho's biggest fan, but let's be honest, games are starting to sort of bypass him a little bit, aren't they? He's slowing it down. I want to see that guy playing. I want to see him in midfield. I want to see him box to box, picking the ball up. Even when he picked it up, his first instinct was to look forward and take strides forward. And with him and Núñez hopefully doing the same, you'd like to think there's a combination there with maybe Neves in behind, wouldn't you? So for me, he starts. I love Coutinho, but I think it's time for him to drop out of the side. He didn't sign a new deal to play 38 games this season. He's not going to be able to do it, is he? So I think it's just time for a change in there.
I think you're right. I think the key is the three that we're playing there at the moment are very similar. There's not a great deal between them. Obviously, there's different levels with Neves' passing, but they play a very similar style of football. We need someone to give us something different in there, and we need someone who can make the opposition work for their goals. Because I think when you're playing a team like City, you've got to make them work for the goals. And I think with the third goal, they did that. They opened us up with some fantastic passing in around the box, and they got the finish. First two goals, there was nothing special that they did to score the goals. So someone like him allows you to maybe release your other players to play. He looks like he can do that dirty job. He had a little bit of Olafiniana about him to me, who absolutely loved it. It was that solid sort of base and structure and the ability to barge past players and find a pass. And he looks like he looks like he's got something about him for me. I really like it.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I mean, going on to Moutinho, and I mean, I love Joe like he's a member of my family. He's the football, he's touched, the things he's done. I think he's a victim of the formation, because if you play 4-3-3, your left and right midfielder, either side of the pivot, have to go up and down. Not necessarily box to box, but they need to have an engine. Now, Joey's fit, but he's 36. What are we expecting from him? You're asking him to do the weakest part of his game. Realistically, for me, he's someone that comes on now. In games that Wolves you'd expect to be winning, I don't mind him starting then. You can probably get away with him being a little bit further up and trying to pull the strings a little bit more. In a game against a team like that, people argued about this on the Wolves space last week, but I can see the point in a game like that. You really need legs, and Traore looks like he's got that. Now, if you've got someone either side of the pivot in Neves that can do that, I'm not expecting Traore to score goals. I think he's got one career goal. But if you've got someone, it's just the positivity he took straight away. He got the ball. As you said, he looked up. He wants to pass it forward. He looked like he was everywhere. His reading looked really good. I believe, if stats serve me correct, if I remember this, I believe last season, in terms of like individual player performances, I think he had the third best pressing stats in European football. So the guy's clearly got an engine. That's incredible. Maybe a little bit raw footballing wise, but he made a difference. He came on. He looked positive, and we need to try that. If I'm going to West Ham, I know we'll talk about West Ham in a bit, but the team needs some life and a shake-up. And I also do think, and I want to get your opinions on this now, I do really think that starting a game with no natural number 9, you're handicapped from the off. You need someone there, hold, make it stick. So will that come from Costa after he's had 3 weeks? Might do. Is Jimenez injured? He's with Mexico. I've no idea what's going on there. So let's just move on to the tactics then, boys, because 4-3-3, I've said to you for a while, and we've argued about it. Well, me and Tyler have sort of bickered about it. I think I can see something. And Man City, I couldn't see anything. Granted, we're playing against the best team in the world, but I couldn't really see anything. So is it the formation issue, Knocker? Is 4-3-3 an issue? Is it the issue we haven't got a number 9, a ready fit Jimenez or a Diego Costa ready? Or is it a bit of both?
I think it's a bit of everything, if I'm being honest. I mean, you need a number 9 if you're going to play a 4-3-3, because you need someone to just stand in that midfield, in that attacking area, and just put the ball in the back of the net. And, we signed someone whose legs are made of poppadoms, so he's lasted 5 minutes. And then we've got Costa, who hopefully has an opportunity to settle in and get into the team. But we've got Guedes who plays there. I'm not convinced that's going to be his best position. I'd love to see Traore play there, if I'm being honest, because I think he would give us something a little bit different in that area. But I think he's maybe either injured or he's got you didn't learn me out, to see the way he's not fit to play for us at the minute. And we're just lacking that kind of component to just give us a focal point, give us something to target in that front three. But I'm just not a big fan of it. I don't think the inverted wingers are working for us. I think we're losing too much when they're cutting inside. They haven't got the ability to just whip that ball straight across. You saw a couple of times when Neto did get him behind and he hits it with his right foot, and it goes miles wide of the goal because he's not naturally comfortable on that side. So although I understand the logic of inverted wingers, I don't particularly think it's working for us. I think we're playing 4-3-3 because we want to accommodate all 3 of those midfielders, and I think we're losing something as a result of that. I still think 4-2-3-1, when we get Costa fit and we've got 3 players doing all his running for him, that's going to be the best way for us to go. But now that we've signed Traore, I just don't see us dropping back into that formation.
It's a really good point you make there, Knocker, about 4-2-3-1. I mean, we was in we were living it up in Benidorm for pre-season. And throughout those games pre-season, 4-2-3-1 looked like the way forward. It looked like, here we go. We've got what we wanted for now. It's actually happening. And I don't think we've seen it once in a league game. I think we accidentally saw it on the first game at Leeds when we were forced into it via a sub.
Yeah.
I think we were forced into it after a change, but I don't really see now what's going on. Will Traore improve it on that side? Maybe. The main thing for me, Tyler, I think is the lack of a number 9. Now, if we can somehow manage to get 90 good minutes between Costa and Jimenez, we've got 5 subs now, so there's no excuse for not using them both. Get 60 minutes, 70 minutes out of Jimenez, get 20 minutes, half an hour out of Costa. It's something we need to be looking at, isn't it? An ASAP.
It is, yeah, but I think I said last week, I don't see this changing. Might be a bit of a stupid thing to say, but I don't see how just bringing the number 9 down the focal point will suddenly start scoring goals, because we haven't scored goals, like we've said, for 2 years probably. We're averaging less than a goal a game for over 2 seasons now, is it? I mean, you can have who you want up front, but there's a problem, obviously, getting the ball there and supplying chances. You watch every other team, and there's men in the box. The Bournemouth goal, I was just watching before we joined at the weekend. When they scored that, they had 5 players in the box. Bournemouth away from home. I mean,
we don't even get that many guys in the box in the warm-up.
When did jokes aside, when did you see 5 players in the box for Wolves attacking the ball? Never. There's no point having a striker if your wingers are playing inverted, because they're tucking inside and shooting, like Knocker says, which Guedes and Neto both do. So I just don't see how this Costa's going to come in and save the day. I don't get it. And the thing that annoys me with formations, we're just doing the same thing over and over again, and we're getting the same results over and over again. It's been 4-3-3 all season. Yeah, we look solid at the back. You can't fault that. But going forward, we're doing nothing. So then why is it going into the next game with the same ideas and the next game and the next game? And there's that saying, isn't it, if you keep doing things over and over again and expecting a different result, something's got to change. It needs freshening up. It needs some legs in there. We need to see more from Guedes. We need to see more from Neto and Podence. Players aren't playing to their their maximum potential, in my opinion, either. And that, for me, would probably sit on the manager. I just think there's more questions than answers at the moment. You can talk about player, style, formation. We're doing the same thing every week and it's not working. And something's got to change, hasn't it?
Something's got to change. As you said, Tyler, with the players that we have, having Nunes, Neves, Moutinho, and now Traore, I think 4 will go into 3 all the time there. I think the the trial of, I was all for Neves on the right. I've just got flashbacks of his goal at Southampton and what he did to, was it Vestergaard he did to that day? I had visions of that. I've not seen any of it. Neto looks like he struggled on that side. I think Neto's naturally better on his left, going down, pushing, whipping the ball in. But then he's taking the new signings position. But again, we've got to try. But we have to try something. Now, I think Neto scored most of his goals from the left-hand side. He prefers to push it wide and then drill it across the keeper. That I think we need to see again soon. I felt a little bit sorry for Podence on Saturday because he's got what chances has he got there? Yeah, he's someone who is ideal for a 4-2-3-1 that's going to play off a big centre forward, and that only happens with a fit Jimenez or a fit Diego Costa.
Like you said, Ryan, if we've done a whole pre-season with it, why aren't we doing it now?
I don't know. It's a really good question, but then I guess now I'm just shouting out things I think here. But who's he going to drop then? Is he going to want to drop Moutinho? He's certainly not going to. Well, he's not going to drop Nunes. He's not going to drop Neves. So then, is he going to be prepared to have Traore and Moutinho as subs to put Podence in the 10, have a number 9, and then Guedes and Neto? I'd certainly like to see that against, I say lesser opposition, we're one of the worst teams in the league at the moment. I'd like to see it against the teams on a par with us in near that bottom third and attack a team and go.
But he won't do that though, will he? I mean, we saw at the end of last season when we were safe, but we weren't going to achieve anything. There was opportunities to test those kind of things out, try different formations, and he never did. He just stuck with what wasn't working and hoped it would change. And you've got to be brave enough to say that, look, this isn't working, we're going to try something a bit different. And I think the problem we have is that because we've signed 2 new midfielders, he's got to get 3 of them in the team. He's desperate to get 3 of them in, and it's stifling us because the midfield area has not been too much of an issue for us. But like Chris said, for the last 2 years, we haven't been scoring goals. So that's the area that we need to address. And I think that with Núñez and Neves in midfield, with Moutinho and Traoré ready to come on, for me, I think I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, me too. So far, thanks for all the comments. They're flying through. I'm trying to get as many as I can on the screen. I'm trying to listen to what Nokia and Tyler are saying as they both take a refreshment. But I'm trying to read it as well. Matt J. Marsh says, guys, Moutinho is the best player I've ever seen in Wilshere, but unfortunately he slows the game down too much. I would agree with that, Matt, when he's in this system in a 4-3-3. However, if he was in a 2, I think he's ideally suited to be tucking in front of a back 4 in a pair with his distribution, and he's solid. He's solid recycling the ball. But
like
yeah,
you said, right, he's never going to be the 2, is he? Because Neves and Núñez are always starting.
No, but with Moutinho,
Can we see Terry Towling's passport as well, please? Because I'm not having that as a real name. Are you? I want to see some sort of birth certificate or something.
Terry, drop me a DM with your passport on. We need some ID verification for Tyler here. But it's a what? I mean, what? You should be a pundit with a name like that, Terry. Fantastic. Now, just ending on Moutinho there. Like I said, like you both, everyone said, fantastic footballer. I just don't think he's suited to a 4-3-3. In his one defence, I would say though, he did gas. But the first 50 minutes, hour at Spurs, he was very, very good. So it's not like he's been poor all season. I just think in a game like Man City, when they're ping, 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 he just doesn't have the mobility to cope with that. And a Traoré type player. So is there still a place for Moutinho this season? Absolutely. There'll be games that suit him when he's allowed to play football. In a game when he's going to needs to be all over the place, chasing against superior opposition, maybe not. This is the part of the show. I've been doing some research. Well, I've been given some research by a very helpful friend of mine. I'm going to read out some stats now, and these are not going to read well. So I'm going to read through anyway, just to say where we're at. And this is the build-up. Then I want to talk about Bruno. So this isn't opinion. This is just absolute stats. So teams, league table, minutes per goal ratio. Man City, a goal every 27 minutes. Spurs, a goal every 35 minutes. Liverpool, a goal of 36 minutes, top 3. Joint bottom of the table is West Ham and Wolves with 1 goal every 210 minutes. Below the likes of, if we're joint bottom of the table, Forest, Bournemouth, and they average 100 minutes better than Wolves. So that's the first stat on Wolves' opening part of the season. The second one is big chances scored. So I know these boys love their XG, but in terms of big chances, when you'd expect they've got more likely opportunity to score than to miss. Big chances scored, Man City 15, Brentford 10, Arsenal 8, all the way down to the bottom of the table. Wolves have scored 1 big chance they've created this season. And down the bottom is Bournemouth 2, West Ham 2, Leicester 3, Villa 3, Everton 3, Wolves 1. Bottom of the table with big chances created. Onto the next slide, please. First, we'll go back to COVID. Big chance conversion percentage. Love these stats, boys. Bournemouth's big chance conversion, 66%. Great finishing from Bournemouth. Spurs 57%. Man City 51%. Villa 50%. Palace 33%. Wolves 20th with an 11.11% conversion. 11%. The nearest rival is Newcastle with 26%, so still more than double. That's the most alarming one from me, though, so far. Next slide, please. Shooting accuracy, excluding blocks. Tottenham Hotspur, 60% on target. Palace, 58. Chelsea, 56. Arsenal, 52. Villa, 44. Bottom, Wolves, 35.59. I think, is this the last one? No, last one. If I can keep going with these stats, I'm sure
I think everyone's turned off, Ryan, and jumped off the bridge.
No, but it's important though, because
you got any good ones in here or what?
We talk about
goals inside the box this season. Man City 20 top, Wolves bottom with 2 goals in the box. The last slide before you all jump out the window or have a beer, which you probably deserve after listening to this. Shot conversion rate, including box. Man City 19.49, Brentford 18.29, Fulham 16.67, bottom of the pile 20th for shot conversion, Wolves 3.66. Now, a lot of people have bickered, argued, debated on social media. Social media is a platform where we can all share our opinions, agree, disagree. It's up to you to do whatever you want. But there's been a big debate in the last few days, particularly after tweets suggesting that Bruno was on his way out of Wolves, which was rubbished by the local journalists around in and around Wolves. So if that's the case, with those stats, I mean, this is just me being given stats to read out on our podcast. The people who are running the club are going to see these stats as well. These stats do not bode well for Bruno, do they, Knocker?
No.
You wasn't expecting them, was you?
That's one of the most horrendous stats I've ever heard, son. No, and like you say, the club are going to know that as well. But, you know, is that going to be a lot better than it was this time last year? I'd argue probably not. So it's not a new problem, is it? It's something that we've known about. We've maybe tried to deal with in terms of recruitment this season, but we're just not doing anything, are we? We're not looking like we're going to improve. We're not looking like we're going to suddenly snap out of it. There doesn't seem to be a magic wand where this is all going to be fixed, even with Costa coming in. And it's horrendous stats. I mean, like Chris made the point when Forest got into an attacking area, had 5 players in the box. You look at the way that Fulham play. They attack. They've got Mitrovic attacking. They've got Decordova dropping in behind him. Kearney. They've got options around them. We just run off. We're just sporadically running different directions, and no one goes in the penalty area. We're not giving ourselves a chance.
Well, this is it, Knocker. I mean, I know people are laughing and joking about the stats and me being negative. I can't be negative if they're stats. They're stats. So I'm just reading out what they are. So, like I said, I was lucky enough to be sent these to share. Now, this shouts to me that we haven't been unlucky and there are some serious problems. Probably something that I haven't acknowledged so far on the podcast or to you boys, because I've been trying to keep the faith. I was worried about Bruno at the end of last season. I saw the video. I got sucked in. Yes, please, give me some of that. I dreamt about the 3 games of his first season. Give me some of that. Where's all that gone? These stats say we're not shooting enough. We're not creating enough. And when we do have shots, they're terrible. That's a big concern. But somehow Wolves sit 17th. And on those basis, if you give me 17th now, I'm absolutely taking it. So style, boys, it's got to change. For me, it's a bit predictable. It's a bit safe. It's a bit over-planned. We get the ball, get wide. If there's not a through ball on, we go back to the fullback, we start again, and we go again. And that's what happens. There was some really good percentage stats earlier in the season in terms of managing the game. However, those stats there in terms of us being a threat going forward are alarming. And Chris, what are we going to do to address this?
I never thought about it before. I saw someone tweet it. It might have been yesterday. It might have been today. And it hit home. You've literally just touched upon it as well. It sounds bizarre, but we look overcoached. We look robotic, and we look mechanical. Like you said, you watch the other teams, Fulham, Forest, Bournemouth. Their players aren't as good as ours, but they have a freedom of getting in the box and shooting. Our players look almost overcoached in the fact that everything is so precise. You never get that perfect goal. And it sort of hit home. I thought, you know what? I think that's right. You let good players play to a point, don't you? You know, Guedes looks to me like he wants to almost let the shackles off, but he's almost being coached to sort of keep it simple, turn back a little bit. Neto doesn't seem quite sure to go inside, outside. There's only probably Nunes who I'd say sort of gets the ball and has a bit of freedom about it.
Who's taking a risk? That's it. Who's actually taking a risk?
That's my point. I think that's how they're being coached, Brian. I think they must be being told to do that. Aït-Nouri gets so far and then literally panics and doesn't know what to do. No final ball. And they all seem to be in that boat. And I just thought that's it, the perfect goal. And it doesn't exist, does it? I'll take 10 going off someone's arse. Do you know what I mean? I'm not bothered. And I think they're so robotic. I think that is a problem. And he obviously has this method of coaching and how he does it, etc. It's got to change. There's no freedom to the players. You know, we don't want to go back in history, but we were at our best with Adama, Jota. Jimenez running at pace, breaking at pace.
Do you know what it was then, Tyler?
That's gone, hasn't it?
As much control as we had without the ball then, we were very good at managing games without the ball, but then we had that direct break of pace, Adama straight line, Jota robust, running at you, run through you, doesn't matter, and then Jimenez in there, head, body on the line. That directness we really missed, that aggression in attack. I'm all for tick attack. I'm a purist. I want the perfect goal myself, but I'd rather be ugly and win a game. And I'm at the stage now when it was like we need to be more direct. And I'm not saying just lump it and pump it. Get wide, beat your man, put a ball in, hit it hard across the face of goal or whip a ball to the far post because it's not happening. We're not putting enough balls in there. Yes, we probably haven't got a centre forward, but we need somebody now to be taking risks, take people on, have a shot.
You talk about City's first goal. But it's quite simple, isn't it? At the end of the day, they've got it wide. They've whipped it in. Someone's attacked the ball. It looks nice, but it's pretty bog standard. The third goal, again, the ball's whipped in the cross and Foden's running and attacking the ball. When do you ever see a Wolves player getting on the end of a cross or attacking a ball? Nunes has done it a couple of times, but that's it. And I think that's it. We're trying to score this technically perfect goal. And like we said, we'll take any goal at the moment, won't we?
Just jump in with a little bit of positivity away from football. Matt J. Marsh, thanks for this, fellas. It's really well put together. Thank you very much, Manny. Thank you to Nocky and Tyler's contribution. When's the next one? We're hoping to do a guest special, which I haven't fully told the boys about, next week. And the week after then, we'll do one early after West Ham. And you can see Knocker's smiley face after Wolves have somehow managed to win at West Ham. Maybe not. But the next one, hopefully the next one will be the back end of next week. But thank you for your support. For those who join us, this is episode 40 of the Wolves Report, where we talked about the Man City game, taking your questions, talking about Bruno, tactics, looking ahead to West Ham. I'm joined with the help of Mark Knock and Chris Tyler, with myself, Ryan Lester. Thank you for your comment there, Matt. Much appreciated. Thanks everyone for the comments so far. As I said, the show is live. I'm trying to get as many as I can. The stream's getting absolutely hammered with it. So yeah, thank you so much for your contribution. We'll get up as many as we can. And hopefully soon we'll take some of your questions as well. Just keeping on to that subject briefly then, in terms of doing something different and being direct. And I know we debated about this before, Tyler, and we won't say we argue about it, but we've debated heavily on it. I really do think a centre forward changes things because it allows you to be more direct in terms of your balls. You can put more percentage balls into a box then, and you've got someone to feed off. At the moment, no one's feeding Pedence. And if Neto or Guedes put a cross in, there's nobody there to have it. So I do believe it'll make a difference. I think it'll make a difference to the style to go on.
Don't loan one out to Anderlecht then, and don't buy one with an injury. Worse than mine and Knock is. It's excuses, isn't it? If it was any other team, you'd be saying it's an excuse. Oh, they haven't got a striker. There's only one. It's only our fault that we haven't got a striker. Nobody else. Like Knocker said, we haven't had one for 2 years.
Knocker.
You say there's someone to get the ball in the box. We don't put the ball in the box.
We don't put it in the box.
We cut inside and we hit it, and then when we get a corner, we take a short corner and we end up either whacking it straight out of play or we end up back at our goalkeeper. We don't do anything clever. Like with the set pieces, we had 2 free kicks in good positions. Martinho puts the first one into the wall and Neves puts the second one into the back of the stand. So we've got no creativity. And I think you've touched on a really good point about the robotic nature. Everything's the same, right? We've got a corner. We go short. The first 3 corners, we go short. The fourth one, we bang in the box. We've got a set piece on the edge of the area. It has to be Martinho and it has to be Neves. When was the last time either of them hit a decent free kick? And don't tell me the Villa, because that was going out for a throw when he hit that.
That's the greatest free kick I've ever seen in my life, Knocker, and you know it.
Rated one better, but the point is, I think the last time he scored direct from a free kick was Arsenal. I don't remember
defended against us. We
don't do anything inventive.
The more the show goes on, boys, the more questions are arising than there is answers. There is, as I tweeted after at half time, there's certainly more questions than answers.
There's only one question that everyone wants to talk about.
We'll do that in a minute. Peter Breakwell has said this is the best bunch of players since I started watching Wolves in 1969. In terms of ability, I would agree. And at the moment, I've seen Guedes play football. I've seen Nunes play football. They're not anywhere near the level I've seen them play previously for Wolves so far. Is that the style? Are they acclimatising? I think it's a little bit of both. But we need to play a style of football that gets the most out of the talented players. And that's not happening at the moment. It's 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 safe tiki-taka in the wrong direction, backwards, full-back, centre midfielder, centre-back, full-back, wide player, and it's that repeat again. We need to take more risks and we need to be more direct. If it's a little bit uglier, I don't mind, because I tell you what, the ugliest thing will be relegation, and then everything goes wrong then. And continue this reign of form with those stats I've just read off, it's a reality. It could be a reality. So Bruno needs to address things now. Now, we've got some questions coming up, and boy, are they some good questions. But just one thing to cover off, as you mentioned there, Tyler. We mention this almost every week. The Fabio situation, he's looking dafter and dafter each week. The kid's now playing in an attacking team. Granted, it's a low level of football in the Premier League, but he's getting service. He's scoring goals. He's making goals. It looks like he's enjoying his football. I'm not saying he'd have 6 goals over here. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't. But I genuinely believe that Wolves would be in a better point position and a goal score position than they are now. Yeah. I'm absolutely convinced of it. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, never proven either way. But I am absolutely convinced that we'd have scored more and created more than we have now. But let's see. Right, who's ready for some questions? Right then, take a breath. Here we go. Let's start with Kevin Blackman. Thank you for your question, Kevin. What is Bruno's planned style? 14 months in charge, and someone said that Nuno's champion team would have beaten this current team despite spending millions. Judging on performances so far, it's hard to argue. But let's look at the start of the question. What is Bruno's planned style? Knocker.
Well, he wants to play an attacking team like he did in Portugal. He wants the 4-3-3. He wants to attack teams. He wants to beat them quickly and down the flanks, and he wants to score goals. But implementing a style like that in England, when you're restricting the players, is not impossible. So I know what he wants to do, but he just, for me, he doesn't seem to have the ability to get that out of these players for one reason or another.
You want to have Harrison, but that's not happening either. You know what I mean?
That's the thing, mate. Might wake up with an afro tomorrow. You never know.
I think
podcast has taken a turn.
I think Dean Saunders' championship team would have beat this current team, genuinely.
Well, I think Nuno's team, the first season in the Premier League, probably beat 3 or 4-0. If I'm being honest, if you're basing it purely on ability and attack and systems.
What I would say in terms of style, I think I know what he wants, and I think what we've done now. We've saved the best till last. Well, we've saved the last till last. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Steve Herman. How you doing, Steve?
I'm good. So, I would like to say super sub, but it's more like Sasha Kalajic, and I'm probably going to get a knee injury by the end of this episode.
Mate, you're not even doing 40 minutes.
Exactly. I've not lasted as long as him, but there you go.
Just finishing up on Kev's question, what is Bruno's planned style? As Knocker said then, I think he wants to play attacking football. I think he wants to entertain. But for whatever reason, the performances have lacked a certain amount of bravery. There's been too much precision. So I think I know what he wants to do, Kevin. I'm just not sure. He's taking the handbrake off.
But does it not tell you everything that's wrong, right? You've just said he wants to play attacking football, and you've read out that our attacking stats are the worst in the league. So that just doesn't make sense, does it? He wants to play free phone attacking football, but we're bottom of the league on every attacking stat.
Yeah, 5 slides, Steve. I read out then, and 5 stats were bottom. Chances created, conversion, shots, everything were bottom. So let's move on to some more questions while we're having some fun. Steve, you can have this one. Amanda asks, how do we tackle the elephant in the room? That's not Tyler. The highly apparent drop in coincidence of form players. At which point do we think the winning mentality has started to wane? Great question.
Well, I mean, the running form would suggest the winning mentality started to wane. What about February last year? That's when someone posted on Twitter yesterday. I think it was it might have been even the singing in the away end at Old Trafford, and we sing in there about going to Europe and all that. I mean, and everyone said, like, what happened to that?
Yeah.
I mean, so I'd say it was around that time. I don't think the team's got it back since then. Yeah, I don't know what you guys think in terms of is it a lack of confidence or is it? I mean, I listened a bit earlier to the start of the episode, looking at the post Man City game, post Man City analysis. But in terms of the general thing, is it Bruno's tactics or is it a lack of confidence?
I think the manager at the moment, he's probably guilty of not taking the handbrake off. And as I mentioned just before you came on, players like Neto, he's a confidence player playing right now. I've had enough of that experiment. I was all for it because I'm repeating myself, but I talked about his goal at Southampton when he beat Vestergaard. Players are lacking in confidence. Skillful attacking footballers want to play skillful attacking football. They want to play fast energy, high football where they have lots of shots and lots of chances. And at the moment, I think Wolves are predictable. They're slow. They want to score the perfect goal. So, yeah, great question, Amanda. Thank you.
I mean, the other parts of that, sorry to jump in, Rob. The other parts of that is, are they as good as we think they are? Because, I mean, Neto, I think that was Neto's 100th game for us. What's he got, 11 goals? And this is a guy that we're talking about 50 million to Arsenal. And Podence, I like Podence, but what are we going to get out of him this season? 5 goals. And that's our main attackers down the flank. So we see all these wonderful things about them and all these lovely skills that they do, but are they as good as we think they are? Because we're not improving, are we? We know what's wrong. We know where the problems are, and we don't look like scoring. I mean, how many of our shots fly into the crowd? You know, it's
to steal a description off my colleague from WM, Mike Taylor, because he said this before about Adama Traore. Have we got a team of GIF footballers? You know, that they look good. Yeah. In spells, you know, you'll see that Neto goal against Southampton and the occasional skill from Podence when he nutmegs Kevin De Bruyne and things like that. Is that what we've got? Is that what, you know? Because I think on paper the start, I always like looking at the starting 11 against Man City. You go on paper, that's bloody good. But then,
in terms of technical ability, it is good. In terms of technical ability, Steve, I just don't think he's right. He's finding the right formula, and he's going to have to be brave, as we mentioned earlier on. He's going to have to go more attacking and probably sacrifice Moutinho or one of the midfielders. Well, it probably would be Moutinho out of those three, and needs to be, because if a win doesn't come soon, I know West Ham away, Chelsea away is pretty hard, but no wins from those two, I don't think he survives that.
You've got to be clever as well, though. I mean, the one thing that I tweeted after the Man City game was naive. I thought the tactics and the approach to that game was naive. Ryan Aït-Nouri, a few months earlier, you know, well, the whole team, a few months earlier, we got butchered by Manchester City, and it happened in spells again at the weekend. Playing Aït-Nouri, I heard you talking about the inverted wingers idea earlier. I think the inverted wingers can work when you've got Aït-Nouri and whether it's Semedo or Johnny bombing down the wings. And so they play the role down the flanks, whereas the inverted wingers will cut inside. It can work then, but playing for me, that was one of the biggest mistakes. Playing Aït-Nouri against Manchester City, a fullback who can't defend, being brutally honest.
I would say, though, Steve, in games, he showed us he can. I just think it's a lack of concentration. However, I know he was sort of caught short for the first goal, but for me, it's the shape that let him down. How have we been outnumbered and overlapped after 50 seconds? It's just it's so bad that he's been, whether Guedes didn't track his runner, I don't know what. I mean, I opened the show with this earlier on, but for me, it should be 4-5-1 for 5 minutes. Everyone tucks in, 5 across the back 4, no spacing behind, break us down, and then the game will start to open up as we can counter. So, yeah, I know we've gone away from Amanda's point here a bit, but yeah, I totally get your point. Let's move on to another question. Amanda, thank you for your contribution. Here we go, Tyler. I've got one with your name written all over it. Barring a pretty spectacular resurgence, the decline of Bruno Lage project is well underway. But who can realistically hope to step up? But who can we really?
In regards to a new manager?
Yeah.
I'll interpret it as he means players, maybe, or a manager.
Yeah, I think that means players. Apologies, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it will take something pretty spectacular, because I was very critical of Nuno because it got boring and I wasn't excited. And I feel exactly the same now watching Wolves. It's boring. It's not very exciting. We spoke after the game, didn't we, Nocco? And I said, were you excited? When did you last get off your seat watching Wolves? You know, you used to be back in there, you'd be up and down. Even when we had like Kitely or Jarvis on the wing, you'd be excited. There's nothing
direct and fast.
There's nothing that excites me anymore. So I don't know if these players can step up, and I think it's a mixture of what Nocky said. I don't think they're as good as, I don't believe they're as good as we think they are. And I also think that, as I said earlier, they're just being coached robotically to do the same things over and over again. I know you can't go off what you see on like YouTube and stuff, but when we signed Guedes, we were all literally buzzing. This is a guy who was beating people, smashing it in the top corner, scoring from everywhere. He looks like Tim Steele at the moment.
But we're not putting him in we're not putting him in those positions, are we, Tyler?
He's not terrified. He looks terrified.
He's not. We're not playing a style. Again, repeating myself. We're not playing a style of play that allows him to cut inside to one of the centre backs and put him on his weak foot. I don't know. I don't know.
Why buy him? Why want him? We said we're after him for 3 years and we can't put him in the right position. I mean, it's pretty basic stuff if you ask me. And like you said, there's so many more questions than answers. But I personally think there won't be a resurgence, and I think we're only going one way, unfortunately, at the moment.
Well, on that note, let's go on to another positive question. Ted, please would the panel provide their views or interpret Bruno Lage's style of football supposed to be? I know we're repeating it over here, but Steve can have this one as he's been naughty and late to class. He's supposed to be his rationale behind it and the reason it doesn't deliver results. Everyone take a break. Steve Herman, the floor is yours.
Can I just take this opportunity to say thank you to the plumber who came round to fix our downstairs? He was an Albion fan.
Wow.
Shouldn't have let him in.
Oh, mate, I was so close. Steve was so close to deleting you off the podcast.
You just do with deleting.
Are you sure he's fixed it, Steve, or not made it worse than it was and just not told you?
I'll find out tomorrow morning, I guess. But he did take great pleasure in saying an Albion fan has got you out of the SHIT. So anyway, on to the question. In terms of interpreting Bruno Lage's style of football, well, thing is, I'd like to think it's an attacking style of play. It's free-flowing football. In those, I go back to the opening 3 games of the season
We're
last
all clinging on to those.
I am. They've gone, Steve. They've gone.
I think they have gone. I think you're right, but I think that's what he wanted to do, and then he realised, obviously after 3 defeats, he went, "Hang on, we can't do this with this lot of players we've got." And obviously throughout the transfer window now, he's had a couple of transfer windows, and throughout this one, he's saying, "We need this player, we need that player." He's then reverted to, "I want a player with a different profile." As an option. So, I mean, attacking free flowing is what he wants to do, but the problem is, I know you've talked about different styles and how to tackle different. I just go back to the approach and the style of play. I don't think you can do one approach and one style of play anymore in the Premier League. You've got to tackle each game differently.
The problem is, though, Steve, sorry to jump in. The problem is now, though, we don't even know what plan A is, never mind having a plan B.
Do you know what? The worrying thing is, I remember interviewing Stolar Solbakken after we got knocked out of the cup against Luton, his last game in charge. Brilliant. And that was, it really was. And that was one of my questions, because he started talking about, plan A wasn't, plan B didn't work, and this, that, and the this, that, and the other. And my question to him was, which was a bit harsh in a way, but the fan in me came out, which shouldn't always happen as a journalist. But I said, you keep talking about plan B, Stolar, but what's plan A?
I bet he loved that.
I kind of knew that he was going to get the sack, to be honest, so I felt like I could get away with that question. I don't think I would say that to Bruno Lage, and I don't think Mike Taylor will be saying that to him.
But if you're sent to interview Bruno Lage, we all know what's coming.
Do you know what? To be honest, I don't. I know there's been a lot of pressure, and there were rumours over the weekend about Bruno Lage, and it does feel like increasing pressure, but it feels a bit strange that the pressure's ramped up after we've lost to Man City. I don't think anybody expected us to get anything out of that, and I know it's not been great in the lead up to it anyway, but I could be totally wrong. I don't have any intel from inside the club at all. I'll be brutally honest with you on that. I don't know whether it is at panic stations from within the club yet. I know a lot of fans are getting fed up, but I don't know if it is.
Well, let's take it a level deeper. If any football club, any business should always be looking for a potential replacement, should a senior manager, a senior salesman, a specialist, if someone in that team leaves, they should always be looking for a specialist to put in their place, especially at that high level. So
which is what Brighton have done with how quickly they've replaced Graham Potter, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think that's been on the card, but that's what your business model in any business. You should have potentially the ability to step someone up or step someone into the business. I can't see Wolves not having that. However, it appears we are exclusive, have an exclusivity agreement with Mendes-related managers, and I don't know how many good ones are left out there at the moment. That's the concern.
Well, the only time Fosun have, sorry to cut in again, the only time Fosun have diverted away from a non-Mendes client was Paul Lambert, wasn't it?
We'll sit with the Mendes clients, I think.
So, well, I'm only saying that as a bit of a, not a word of warning, but just throwing it in there that if it is right to think about who the next option could be, but if you cast the net wider, who's there with the wider net as well as a Mendes client?
But let's just be really clear for anyone listening. I just want the best, and everyone on this podcast would share this view. I don't want him sacked. I want Wolves to succeed. If he wins at West Ham or whatever, and someone manages to turn it round, I just want the best Wolverhampton Wanderers. If this run continues and the stats that I read out earlier on, Wolves are only heading in one direction, and I'm sure they'll have to make a big decision. However, up until that point, let me just finish, Knocker. Up until that point, I'll be fully backing the manager because my opinion, my love for Wolverhampton Wanderers is far more important than my opinion on the manager. I want him to prove us wrong and I want him to get it right. I'm not sure that he will, but I hope he does. Mark Knock.
But you can't let that love for the club cloud your judgment, though, can you? I mean, Steve spoke about it earlier, those 3 games, the first 3 games of last season when we were brilliant. We abandoned that after 3 matches because it wasn't working. And yet we've won 1 in 14 doing exactly the same thing now. So at what point does this run of we're going to back him, we're going to get behind him, we're going to do this, turn into an absolute catastrophic failure? Because if we're not careful, we're going to end up cut adrift because we don't look like we've got a win in us. At some point, you're going to have to look at it from a purely business point of view because I don't think any other manager in English football survives a run like this. And I think the longer it goes on, the deeper it's going to go. And if ever we lose to West Ham and we don't pull the trigger at that point, you're going to be going into the World Cup probably in the bottom 3.
Well, I mean, there's a question earlier on. I think one of you said, are these players as good as we think they are? Ruben Neves, Mateus Nunes, Max Kilman. I'd even say Giancarlo Guedes as well. I think these are very, very good Premier League players.
That was attacking players, not midfielders.
Yeah, I think they're very, very good players. And I don't believe in terms of talent. I mean, talent is nothing without application and a plan. However, I believe with the players that Wolves have got, they should be doing better than they are now. We just need to be seeing more of it. Steve made a really good point. There seems to be a lot more panic and worry after losing to potentially the best squad in world football. But it was just, I know I'm repeating it again, Steve, but that just opening to the game, and I was like, he's worrying me here. He's worrying me, and it's a concern. But
sorry, I was going to say very quickly, Knocker's just made an interesting point and a good point talking about the World Cup coming up. If you are a Premier League manager or manager at any level with the break coming up, if you're a manager that's struggling going into that, you probably should be worried because that's a long time. Well, what, 6 to 8 weeks?
6 weeks to recruit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a long time. Now, I mean, thanks for your question, Ted, and your contribution and support for the show. It's always very much appreciated. As for Bruno, I hope he smashes it. Will he? I don't know, but regardless, I know most of us will be at West Ham and I'll be fully behind him. So I hope he turns it round. I hope he gets it right. And I hope we probably see Diego Costa smashing in a football or a person, or as Roy Keane said, just smashing someone to make us feel all better. So do something. But let's move on to another question. Time is absolutely flying. I'm conscious that it's almost an hour now. Acknowledging the striker issue, but why can't Bruno tweak the system and get goals another way? Is he a one-trick pony? Why does the ball move forward so slowly? What a question that is from Gary Winslow. Tyler, that puppy's yours.
I was hoping you'd say Knocker. I'll try and be quick. I mean, why can't he tweak the system? I mean, he's tried different systems now, hasn't he? 3 at the back, 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3. None of them seem to work for him. Is he a one-trick pony?
But didn't 4-2-3-1 work in pre-season and look good?
But you're playing pub teams, mate. It's irrelevant. I'm not having that. Is he a one-trick pony? I think, like Steve said, what's his one trick? I want to see what is his plan A. I haven't even seen one trick to start with. And why does the ball move forward so slowly? I think that's what I sort of alluded to earlier. When you watch other teams play, how quickly they can get the ball forward. We can't, unless Nunez is sort of trying to drive forward, we just don't get it forward quickly, do we? So I can't answer the question. You're sort of saying the striker's probably focal to it, and obviously it doesn't help on having a number 9. Of course it doesn't, and let's just hope we can improve that way. But on with Knocker, it's irrelevant playing Podence in a false 9. You can't play without a striker. Is that me?
I think it's you, Tyler, yeah.
I'll shut up then, because I've waffled a lot anyway.
You might have to reset. You might have to reset them, buds, mate. You give us a hint of the Daleks. I'll have to pay the BBC more money now if I've rented a Dalek for an evening. I'll answer it off. Answer the end of what Gary's saying there. Why does the ball move so slowly? I think we've covered that. You might have to take them out, Tyler, because you're going to wake the neighbourhood up here as I'm blasting them. I don't know what's going on there. Who is it? He's playing the Daleks. It's you, isn't it, Steve? Again, I bet it is. No, it's Tyler. In terms of moving, I think we've covered most of that question during the show in different bits. It's predictable. It's a bit slow. It's a bit over practiced. It's the same. If you can't find that perfect pass, start again. I'm all for keeping the ball. And if you're 0-0 at a tough away game or you're winning, I'm all for recycling the ball and starting again. But not when you're chasing the game. And yeah, Gary, he makes some really good points there. Hopefully, the performances will answer some of those questions. I'm not sure that they will. Now, I've got a question, and I've not got this for the screen. I've been thinking about it, and I want your opinions. I'm going to have a little rant and get it over and done with. If we take one more short corner, all right, I don't even know what I'm going to do. If we take one more short corner and it ends up back, all right, so you've got 2 6'4" centre-backs when they're both on the pitch, making their way up, and you mess up. What are you doing? All right, Arsenal, who play very good football, I'm pretty sure they had a left-footed in-swinging corner, whipped it in, centre-back flicks it on, 1-0 Arsenal. The beautiful Arsenal under Arteta that play lovely football, direct, hard, swinging, in-swinging corner to, I think he was a centre-back, flicked it in, over the keeper and in. It's a simple, effective goal. If you've got a quality delivery, Wolves have got plenty of players that can deliver the ball. If you've got big centre-backs, there's a possibility. Why, oh, why? And if someone else tells me about making it a different angle, I'm going to scream. Steve,
I think it was the Newcastle game that we did the commentary on WM when we did take a short corner. And I think both of us, right, obviously as a commentator, I'm supposed to describe what I could see, but I think both of us just went, oh, come on. Come on. And then, but it's not just that. It's, I mean, if you're going to take it short, but then at least do something with it, I think it's the problem is taking it short and then. But
it seems like the whole team, Steve. It's like we're overcomplicating everything. Football doesn't need to be as complicated as 156 passes and 6 people on a short corner. If you're going to do a short corner, dump it to the edge of the box, have a shot, like we've done a few times. If that's not on, whip it in. Neves has got a vicious right foot. Yes, his free kicks aren't great anymore, but if he side foots that and whips it in, he can do it. Neto can do a left-footed in-swinger. It sounds simple because it is simple. Hit the ball hard between the 6-yard box and the penalty spot with pace, side foot, hard as you can, whip it in, attack it. I mean, that ain't rocket science, is it, boys? Because it ain't working at the moment.
Villa have scored off a couple of corners. I was doing the Bolton game and where Douglas Luiz scored direct from a corner. And
did he whip that in hard, didn't he?
Yeah, he whipped it in hard into the far, aiming for the far corner. But the thing is, it put pressure on the goalkeeper. And even if you're not going to score from that situation, because that, I mean, fair play to him, he's done it twice, so he meant it, so that's skill. But just putting it in there puts the goalkeeper under pressure, therefore puts the opposition team under the pressure. Yeah, with short corners, I don't get it. Just get it in the box.
If you've got quality, because Neto can cross the ball with his side foot, so can Neves. If you've got quality players who can whip the ball in hard, they're professional footballers, international footballers. I don't know why it's got to be so complex. The whole team is doing stuff that's just overcomplicated. We need to make it more simple. I sound frustrated because I am absolutely frustrated. I've just been thinking about it and didn't put it as my own question. Oh, Leicester I was going to put up on there. But let's move on to the next game in a just over a week and a half's time away. Nocky, what are we expecting from West Ham? Forget about the result. How are you expecting the manager to set up? Is he going to swallow his pride, or is it going to be the same again?
No, he's not. It'll be the same again. The only change I could possibly see coming in is possibly Semedo comes in. I don't think he'll start Costa. I think Costa will be looking to come on from the bench. Jimenez, my suspicion is he won't be there either. So I think we're pretty much going to go as we did against Manchester City.
Okay. Tyler, we need a result. Bruno, I think now, and I genuinely believe this, as much as people are denying it, I genuinely believe now he's close. A bad performance and loss at West Ham, I think he's very close to losing his job. Very close. What's he going to do? What's he got to do to make sure that doesn't happen?
Can you hear me first of all if I speak?
Yeah. Quite sexy, to be honest.
As good as Mike Taylor or not?
No, mate. If Liquid Gold,
as good as that now.
If Liquid Gold had a voice, it would sound like Mike Taylor.
I'll be doctor. I just don't see him making the changes. I'm flat as a pancake with him. I don't get this argument about a lot of people said, well, they'll give him the next 2 games. Why? It's irrelevant. Because if you don't win them next 2 games, you're another 2 games further on and you've changed nothing. I'm not saying I'm like you. I'm not saying I'm pro or against. I am very much sat on the fence. But unless we see something different very soon, it's only a matter of time, isn't it? Let's be honest. So I'd play Traore for the reasons I mentioned earlier, just to get some energy and some legs in midfield. I'd agree with Knocker. I'll bring Semedo back in, probably our best fullback, so I don't get why he's not playing anyway. And let's just pray we can get some sort of a number 9 up front that can be a focal point. But if not, I'm with Knocker. I don't see anything changing really.
Just a slight tweak on that question to you, Steve. I tweeted about this after the game, and I talked about the manager, the performance, Neves at centre-back. I mean, we've missed so much off the night, but we've been going over an hour. The one thing that concerns me the most is, and this seems to resonate with quite a lot of people, I don't feel like I've got any kind of relationship with the manager. And in terms of the performances, I don't love him. I don't dislike him. I'm not anything either way. I want him to succeed because I love Wolves, but he's not giving me anything to feel like I've got some kind of connection. Now, obviously, we're going to West Ham. I think he knows he's going to be under pressure, as much as he's not saying that. Any kind of win with some passion and a team that's having a real more of a go, but in the final third, as opposed when the game's dead, that's going to get some buy-in from the fans. But is he going to be brave enough to get at West Ham?
Just to cover the first point in terms of that connection and relationship, it's really interesting because I think, and there might be some members of the press that might agree with me more so than fans on this. In terms of as a person, I think Bruno Lage versus Nuno. Bruno Lage is probably a more amenable and nicer man in general, but yeah, you're right. He doesn't have the same connection that Nuno got. I mean, obviously the success on the pitch and what Nuno did for Wolves, I don't need to bang on about that on a Wolves podcast. We all know about that. We all experienced it and we all loved it. But of course, Nuno was great at talking about the fans, and he was the one who sort of talked about the pack and the mentality, and it's us. And after the games, he did the punching towards the South Bank, all of that. If Bruno Lage came in after Nuno and started doing that, everyone would go, "Oh, you're just a Nuno light. You're a copycat." So he couldn't do that. He had to be himself. And a Nuno press conference versus a Bruno Lage press conference. A Nuno press conference would last about 5 minutes. A Bruno Lage press conference can last.
Well, we said
more than
after
triple the time in terms
after
of
the Newcastle game, he was answering everything, going deep into the story about Willy Bolly. You probably
Yeah.
wouldn't have got that from Nuno. So he is more of an open book, and you do get more. I don't know what it is though, Steve. I'm just not getting a lot of buying. I don't know. I mean, is his personality, his character? I don't know. He can do what he wants if he gets the results. But
well, I was just about to say, you've just hit the nail on the head there. At the end of the day, like I said, I'm alluding to it, but a lot of people will tell you Nuno wasn't the nicest man in the world. He was loved by his players because he had them, and loved by the fans because of what he produced. But at the end of the day, you're not going to be loved and you're not going to create a connection with a fan base if you're losing games and you're not playing great football. That's the ultimate problem that Bruno Lage has got at the end of the day, which brings me on to the West Ham game. Again, I could be wrong. I don't have any intel as such. I'm not sure how much pressure he is under within the club at this stage. Of course, West Ham, where they are in the table, there is the pressure because they're right next to us at the moment, and they've not started well either. But I can't see where even a loss at West Ham away, I can't see that being the straw that breaks the camel's back, same as Chelsea away either. After that, we've got Nottingham Forest at home.
Do you not think though, Steve?
That is the type of game, because I mean I don't know because I wasn't at Molineux, admittedly, because I was working. I wasn't at Molineux on Saturday in the stands, but as far as I'm aware, it's not any mumblings, grumblings so far as it's been isolated to social media, hasn't it? It's not come out in the stands.
I mean, there was a few murmurs, boos at half time.
Which that happens.
Yeah, I think there's a general respect that the players knew they were beat, but they never gave up. And I think you should always applaud that, even though it's your job, and I expect you to try the best if you're lucky enough to wear the badge of my team. But they give it a good go second half. I thought Man City stood off, made it a bit easier than they could have done, but they didn't need to do anything because the game was in control. So, no, there wasn't really anything from the stands. I just think we're getting to the point now, Steve. I mean, you missed it earlier on. I'm not going to repeat myself on them, but I read out 5 slides of stats. Wolves are clearly bottom on everything. Shots, creation, conversion, everything. Every attacking stat there, they're bottom. Now, that's not a coincidence that Wolves aren't scoring any goals. The team aren't brave enough, and we need more, buying. I know we sort of digressed a little bit there, but we absolutely need more buying from the manager to be attacking and braver, because go to West Ham with an insipid performance, trying to pass it round, lose 1-0. I think fans will turn at West Ham if they see that. If they go to West Ham and have a go, and have a proper go, and we end up losing, and we've seen something, take that, or just about take it. Go there with another passy, not really attacking performance. I don't think they're going to wash that. I don't know. What do you think, boys?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I think any kind of defeat at West Ham, regardless of how it comes, I think you'll see a turn, if I'm being honest. Steve's right. There was no... I didn't hear anyone calling for it in Molineux. I didn't hear anyone booing him. I think the boos at half-time were for the harsh red card, as everyone deemed it at the time. Which turned into an assault charge, didn't it? So, but at the time in the ground, I thought first straight away, it's Grealish. I think he's dived. So I think that's what the boos were. But I think if we lose at West Ham, a team who are definitely in and around us at this moment in time, and if we lose that game, regardless of how it comes, I think you'll see a little bit of a shift there, if I'm being honest.
Have you clocked the run after Chelsea that we've
read it out, Steve?
Forest at home, Palace away, Leicester at home, Brentford away, Brighton at home.
Is that the games up until the World Cup, is it?
It's up until the third round of the League Cup against Leeds.
Leeds. So yeah, that's the penultimate, and then Leeds, and then
it's Arsenal at home.
So there's 2 ways of looking at it. Then, do you give him then to proper bed these new players in and be more attacking, or would you cut your losses now before an easy run? I mean, I just hope. I don't like having this conversation because I don't want any manager to fail. I want Wolves to do well. With the money they've spent and the talent they've got, they should be doing better. So hopefully they turn it around at West Ham. Right, we've gone on an hour and 14 minutes.
I've only been here half hour.
Yeah, you're only getting half an hour's pay for this one, Steve. This is the favourite bit of the show, and I'm not really sure anyone's going to give me much happiness here. So we'll start with Tyler. Tyler, I would like your first scorer and score prediction for West Ham, please.
I don't think there'll be 1-0.
Wow, well, you know what? I'm kind of seeing that as a positive from you, mate. The only way he's up, Knocker.
Everything in my head tells me we're going to lose 2-0, but I'm going, so I'm going to go 1-1. Who should we go for? We have Nunes. Nunes with his first goal, 1-1.
Get in there. Steve Herman.
I'll be honest, Knocker's just taken the prediction I was going to go for, which is partly
I can
sitting on
swap
the
it back
fence
to
with the
2-0
1-1.
if you want.
Do I have to go for something different?
No, you can go whatever you want, mate.
Because I was going to say 1-1 and Nunes as well, to be fair. Just thinking, but I am probably leaning towards more what Knocker was saying in terms of I'm not that confident, basically. I'll go for 2-2 just to say a different scoreline.
Well,
and I'll stick with Nunes.
Are you allowed to score 2 goals in a game? It's been a while, hasn't it?
So
that's why I didn't want to go for it.
Let's just be really clear then. We've got 0-0, 1-1, and 2-2.
Full of dripping in confidence, that we're dripping.
Well, I tell you what, boys. I mean, what choice have I got here? You know what's coming.
If you go 3-0, I'm disconnected.
It's West Ham 0, Wolves 0. Excellent show. This has been episode 40 of the Wolves Report with me, Ryan Lester. Thank you so much to Nocky, Tyler, and BBC WN's Steve Herman. You can catch us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Hopefully you'll join us next week for our guest special, and then Nocky's little face when we've drawn 0-0 at West Ham, and he's absolutely buzzing. This has been episode 40. Thank you for joining us. Up the Wolves.